So the recording is about to start. So the stage is all yours, Jeevan, and you can proceed.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speaking in this prestigious event. And welcome everyone to Microsoft BizApps Urdu Hindi Bootcamp 2022. And this is the second time I'm consecutively speaking in this event. I really appreciate the efforts the organizers have put and all the volunteers have put. And thanks everyone again of the attendees for joining today or during the weekend. And then I appreciate everyone for the efforts and hope I can deliver something that really benefits you. And without further ado, let me just quickly go into the next one slide. And yeah, thank you again, all the partners and Microsoft and everyone to making this event happen. And yeah, today we will be seeing Dynamics 365 and Power Platform release. We have two features. And it's going to be a kind of very high level walkthrough about the features. The idea is to get what is there that's released, and then we can, or you can basically take it away and then do some research and then start using in your projects if you have not. And there are lots of cool features that's been released recently. And a quick intro about myself. Myself, Jiva. I'm working as a solution architect in Fusion 5 Auckland. And today it's a bit late here. It's 10:10. But yeah, nevertheless, nothing is late for the community. And yeah, I'm a Microsoft business application MVP for the last 3 years. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. And these are my Twitter handle and my LinkedIn QR code. Please feel free to scan it and connect it if you're not yet connected with me. I'll just flash it for a second. And here is also my blog URL. I'm not quite actively blogging these days, but I hope I can do it from next year. That's one of my new resolution. I hope I can fulfill that. Yes, that's the quick intro. And without further ado, if I move, and today's agenda is going to be, as I said, on the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform wave to release features. So first we'll see some introduction about what is this wave to release about, and what are the different terminologies that's involved in the wave two. Someone who is new to the business application or Power Platform, and I know this audience targeted audience for Power Platform is rapidly growing, and there are more users been getting into the technology every day. So I thought it's good to have an introduction about the Wave 2 features and what are this terminologies that we use in the when it comes to releases. And then we'll see some high level updates on some of the features that I have used. So this is not a complete set of feature. I cannot cover all of them in 50 minutes or 45 minutes. It's going to be a day discussion if I start with that. So what I've done is I've just taken some of the features that I found interesting or something that I am comfortable with, but I will share the necessary URLs and the resources that where you can find the complete list of the features that's been announced. And not just Dynamics 365, we'll also see the Power Automate features and Power Apps features and Power Pages features. Yeah, that's all about today's agenda. And the first slide, as I said, to get the introduction about what is this release wave 2. So 2022 release wave 2 basically covers all the new functionalities that has been planned to deliver by Microsoft to the market from October 2022 to March 2023. So all the features will be released within this 6 months of window. So wave one will be 2023. Wave one will be the next one, which will start from April to next September. So there will be two releases uh, that Microsoft does every year, and the wave one is from the period of April to September, and wave two is from October to March, right? And the terminologies we use in terms of these releases is early access, private preview, and general availability. You can see this is also in a timeline. Ignore the years, that is something not updated, but you can see for the wave one releases, right? So you can basically opt in for the early access in your environment 2 months before that, before the actual release. So for example, if you take wave one as the that's planned, you can see that you'll be able to opt in for the early access by February itself, right? And once So once you have that the early access updated, you can test the features, and then you can see, like which one you'll be comfortable with, and then like it's basically to play around before the actual general availability, which is kind of my automatic push to your environment, right? So the early access is basically available for all types of environments, right, including your trial environment, sandbox environment, production. However, the best practice is to basically take the backup of your environment and then try it here instead of directly, putting it in your production or actual environment. And yeah, even though you can have it on production environment, it's not recommended to directly run this in production environment. Yep. Can you please mute so that if there's any question, kindly feel free to drop in the chat. If someone is not talking, kindly mute. Thank you. Yep, and where I was like, yes, so it's not recommended to have the Wave 2 feature, sorry, the early access feature enabled in the production. So you better do it in one of the sandbox environments in your copy of the sandbox environment, and then try it, and then so that you'll be prepared for the general availability. And you can see the wave one is spanned from April to the next September, and when the wave two starts, which is from the October of the same year, the early access for the wave 2 can be opted on the August, so that you'll have some time to play around with that. That's how the timeline of the releases are planned in Microsoft, and that's the early access, right? You basically enable the feature in by yourself in your environment, and then you use it, and then when no, you can see, you can speculate what kind of impact it's going to have in your environment. And the important thing that needs to be aware here is once you enable it, you cannot revert it back. So that's why it's recommended to have take the environment copy from your admin.power platform, and then you perform these updates on top of that copy, the backup environment. And the public preview is the second one. So public preview is the features that are not completed. It's not general available, but it's the idea of the public preview is for the customers to use it and then provide the feedback as necessary. That's what the public preview is. And general availability is the final kind of a production use availability. So this releases are online. It's not done, you don't need to do anything. Microsoft basically does that push to your environments on a certain window on the weekend, in certain weekend. So there is based on the region. So based on where your environment is hosted. So Microsoft has a list of time and when this updates are pushed into environment based on your region. So there is a list of the time so that you, when you're if you're administrator or if you're architect, you can plan your updates and make sure your solution compatible with that. And then once the updates are done, you also do the complete solution health check, right? That's all good practices that comes after the solution update. But yeah, so that's the high level overview of what is the how the release features are released in Dynamics 365 Power Platform space, and how it is planned, and what are these terminologies are, because we are going to have this in all of our upcoming slides. And the next one is into the actual features. So the first one to start with is the sales reporting. This is for Dynamics 365 sales, right? So as part of this release wave 2, you can see there are two reports that's been been released. So the idea of these two reports is basically these dashboards, sorry, not reports, the dashboards. This provide a snapshot, a view of your historical performances or the metrics, so-called, of your sales, right, of your sellers. So you can see how the opportunity has been converted, and what is the ratio or the success rate of lead to opportunity, and how much contacts and accounts has been onboarded, how many have been uh, newly created, how many has been upgraded, all those kind of stuff. So you can see from these dashboards. So the one is the opportunity usage dashboard, other one is the lead usage dashboard, right? So those sales dashboards basically give you a broader view of the performance of your sales team. So if you're a manager or if you're a supervisor, you can see you can get a bird view of your team, what they are doing, and how the selling is happening in your environment, right? So the reports basically includes your KPIs, where you can see it here, and the charts how it is done, right? And the KPIs and the charts how it is done. So and an important thing is if you want to have these dashboards, you can just, as an administrator, you'll have a option under the settings, go it and turn it on. But once you turn it on, it can take up to 24 hours to get this. No, you can get, to see this in your environment. So it's not going to be the moment you turn it on, it doesn't appear immediately. It takes up to 24 hours. And these are Power BI dashboards that's maintained by Microsoft, right? That's another thing to note. You can't extend it, right? It's all restricted because it's maintained by Microsoft. So if you have anything to change, or if you find any issues in this, or if you want to have more metrics or more dashboards or more filters that's specific to your business, you have to talk to the Microsoft respective Microsoft product team by raising a support ticket, or if you have any MVPs, you can also use them to basically talk to the Microsoft product team and share the feedback directly. So in that way, Microsoft can work with you and see what can be done, but you will not have the flexibility to directly update it. So these dashboards are in public preview from is in public preview from 15th June 2022 this year, and they are in fact in general available this month. That's November 2022. Right now, you'll understand what is public preview and general availability. So that's from the Dynamics 65 new dashboards. There's one more dashboard called Seller Dashboard. So this dashboard will be public, will be general available from next year 2023. So this dashboard basically, helps to, as for the seller, not for the supervisor, for the sellers to manage their own progress, like to see where they are currently, and so that they can act it accordingly. So you can see they get a summarized view of their activities, their progress across the different contacts and accounts, leads and opportunities, right? How many calls they are making, and what is the progress they're doing in terms of the tasks. And then if it's you connected to LinkedIn, you can see the LinkedIn sales as well. And that's another dashboard. It also follows the same thing. It takes 24 hours, up to 24 hours to see it in the environment once you enable it. And next one is the conversational intelligence. So I thought it's better to play the actual video of this intelligence, but I don't know why I'm not able to play it in this mode. Let me try. Yeah, there you go. Let me know if you're not able to hear the sound, right? Were you able to hear the sound?
No, we can't hear the sound, Jiva.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me try something. Okay, I should have included the computer sound. My bad. Let me try now, and let me know whether you can hear it now.
Conversation intelligence provides meaningful insights by automatically
We can hear
transcribing
now.
calls and analyzing
Perfect.
content, sentiment, and behavioral style right within your flow of work. Calls are transcribed in real time, and any business critical insight mentioned during the call is captured and highlighted. Conversation intelligence analyzes the data to provide managers with the information and insights to intelligently manage their sales team and proactively coach sellers, displaying relevant KPIs and intelligent call data by team, seller, and call. When calls are completed, a rich call report is automatically generated. You not only have a transcript of the call, but AI has also generated a suggested summary with highlights and action items. You can see a quick overview of who was talking and the customer sentiment at the time.
To be honest, I'm having a really bad day.
Action items are clear and incorporated into future work prioritization, such as your promise to call next week. You can take care of that right away and schedule the meeting. When you make a call in Dynamics 365 Sales, Conversation Intelligence records and transcribes the call history, identifies keywords, sentiment, and actions. This call data is stored within the individual phone calls, so you can always revisit what was discussed to ensure you stay on top of your customer interactions.
Yes, but to be honest, I'm already looking at options from Fourth Coffee. And
Yep. That's the conversation intelligence, right? So you can see the phone call activity is not just going to be just a simple data of just time and the call, but it's you can see how complex it is now. And with this conversation intelligence feature, you can see that like it uses basically the analytics behind the scene and data science to basically gather the callers sellers call recordings and analyze this data, and it points out all the sentiments and all the key um, uh, points in the call, and then helps you to take an action against what you can do from that, right? So that's something that's it's very interesting, and it's going to be from public preview from next year Jan, and will be general available from March. So this is something like will be a big thing, and so like have these features enabled. And yeah, this is something relevant to what we just saw in terms of the conversation intelligence. So the Teams integration, right? So the whole Teams integration is it's a huge, right, from Microsoft recent releases. So you can see with the help of Teams integration, so you can basically the users can invite anyone in the organization, right, or in to view and collaborate on any customer records or any opportunities or cases that they are working into in the Teams channel, right? And they can also make and receive calls from Dynamics 365 itself. So which is the previous one which you saw will be using the Teams integration feature again to basically build that kind of intelligence, right? So basically, as a seller in terms of sales or customer representative in terms of service, they can basically share the details on the like opportunity or the cases on and the whole customer history to someone, and then get the insightful help and data from them, right? So they in this case, right, you can see the list of features that's offered by this. So basically engaging in Teams chat. So means that you can like engage the Teams chat conversation within the Dynamics 365 record, and it will be associated to the specific record so that you'll have the history of what happened in terms of that opportunity or in terms of that case, right? And you can also link that to Dynamics 365. So that's what the sitting in the scope of that record, and you can basically embed the whole Teams calling, right? So instead of just navigating to multiple window, you can have that widget of the Teams in the Dynamics 365, and which will be like similar. If you have done any telephone integration, you know like what I'm talking about. So you'll have that widget inside the Dynamics 365, and then you can attend the calls and make the calls directly, like from the Dynamics 365. So instead of like switching the apps, this will basically save the time, and then it gives the better user experience. And they can also directly save the notes against the calls, basically, right? And integrating the whole Dynamics 365 and Teams meetings. So this integration basically allows you to, whether you're in Dynamics or Dynamics 365 or in say or in Teams, still you can basically access the Teams record within Dynamics 365 and also vice versa. So inside the Microsoft Teams, you can basically see the Dynamics 365 record, and then you can add the relevant people to the chat, and then basically you can work on it as well. And there is also something called file integration that comes as part of the Teams and the Dynamics 365. So basically, it's basically a document management feature, right, where you can co-author any documents and using Microsoft 365, and it basically automatically syncs with the Dynamics 365 records that are linked to Teams, right? So this file uploads to the Teams channel, and then it will be associated to the Dynamics 365. Similarly, any file uploaded to the Dynamics 365, linked to Dynamics 365, are visible in the Teams record. And yeah, those kind of things you can make. You can see how the two different platforms, Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365, are working collaboratively. How the collaboration is getting better and better in every releases. And this release and last release are very much focused on the that collaboration in terms of and also AI. So both the AI and collaboration has been a major focus of in recent releases. So if you have not using Teams integrations, it's something definitely to check and then start using it. And also there are tons of things that's happening around this area, and lots of investments been happening on this area. So definitely it's worthwhile to review and sorry enable it and play around with that if you're not already using it. And next one is also very similar to or very closely related to what we saw in terms of the Teams integration. So this is case swarming for complex cases, right? So where you can see that uh, as you can see, if the agents are finding it difficult, or like they're stuck with the current cases and they need any help, traditionally what they were doing is just use the knowledge article to get the needed information. But now going forward, you can see that they also get the professional help from others. So what system does is, when they request for the case swarming, right, basically system will go and find the uh, suitable personalities who has worked on this previously, who has worked on similar cases previously, and it will basically sends the request in the teams for those people. And if they accept it, if they have enough time bandwidth to basically support you, and they accept it, whoever is getting whoever accepted that invite, that system has sent automatically based on your request. There will be formed a temporary group or a channel to discuss that, right? So even you might not know who will have the skill set to support you, but system will be able to get the subject matter experts on that case, and then that's the case swarming, right? So that's what it says. Agents can easily find and work with coworkers from various departments with right skills to quickly resolve complex issues. So how cool is that, right? So it's in public preview from last month, and the general availability is yet to be announced. But this is something, like if you're not enabled, you can enable and try as well. And next one is, oops, there's a duplicate slide. Yeah, next one is the duplicate reduction. Just a moment. And the duplicate reduction has been there since like day one in the CRM, but you can see that how it's that the user experience has been improved. So it's not just a comparison of two things. You can see multiple duplicates or whatever the possible duplicate system suggests, and you can choose the field, and then you can basically merge them. So that's a complex merging than how it used to be previously. And it's generally available from this month. So yeah, you can see that in your environment. And with that, uh, I'm going into the next product, like the Power Platform product. And but there are tons of other releases in Dynamics 65 space. I of course I'm not from F&O, so I'm very specific from customer engagement. So even in customer engagement, I have not shown you some features from marketing, but there are also a few more features in customer service. And in sales, there's also one thing called Sales Accelerator. I strongly recommend that you basically check all those things, and I will share the URLs of relevant page, or like a guide that you can check and then go through each one of them, and then see which really interest you and which really satisfy your business needs. And then you try to enable it, and then in your backup environment, and then later into production. And this is in terms of Power Automate. So you can see the Power Automate, as you can see in this GIF. This is something, a big announcement that Microsoft has done in the Ignite as well. So you can see the AI power turns on words into workflow. That's what it is. So when you say, like, if in this case, you can see the user has typed, when someone response to my survey, store the responses in a SharePoint list, and send me a message in Teams. So that's all they enter in natural language. And then what the system does is it tries to find the suggested flow, and then like once you start using it, it basically gets the right flow with the actions. And but of course you can basically extend it with adding more actions and more complex steps. But like based on your, it's very similar to what they had in Power Apps Canvas app previously, where the user can just key in or say what they wanted to do in a natural language, and system basically picks it up and converts into commands. This is very similar to that. Based on what you say, system picks it up and then creates actionable steps, or suggests the actionable flows to basically for you, and then it basically creates it. And this is in general available since this month, starting this month. So if you have not tried, this is something really makes a maker lives easier. Someone who is starting with Power Automate, they will find this feature really helpful for them to start. And then like if required, definitely getting a professional developer help will be needed in that case. Next one is also in Power Automate. So this one is basically formatting the data by examples. So if you have used Power Automate, you know how quite tricky it is to create the complex expressions and as such. So what Microsoft has done is you give me the I know the data as an example structure, and I will generate the expression for what you are looking for, right? So you can see that based on the examples that we give here, the Power Automate framework or Studio will basically give you the suggested or suggest the expression that might suitable for that one. But you are feel, of course, you are free to edit it or modify it and then use it. But you know, this is something again, who is starting with or who is not familiar with the regular expressions or power, sorry, who are not familiar with the Power Platform expressions, they will find this very easy or very comfortable to start with and then using it in their flow, or Power Automate for that matters. And that's what is this second feature of the Power Automate. That's for basically formatting the data by example. Well, third one is on the Power Automate as well. So this one is a better version of the expression editor. So again, if you have used Power Automate, you might know that how painful it was to edit an expression once you added it. So you have to copy the expression in a separate editor, and then you will basically modify it and copy it here because it was not that user friendly previously. But now, like now it's much better. So you can see the complete expression, and then you can edit it right there, and then it will update the expression accordingly. Yeah. And this will be available from general availability from March. But this is not the I'm going to the next one, which is not from Power Automate, but there are a couple of more things that was released not in the wave 2 but before that, but it's worth to check it. So I just want to talk about it. I don't have a slides for that. One thing is changing the owner. So if you are using Power Automate, like if some by mistake, let's say, or you have created a Power Automate with the individual or the named users as a owner, and unfortunately, if that particular person who created leaves the organization and his user account is deactivated or removed from AD, things going to start breaking, right? The Power Automate will not work. So to address that, what we have done is previously we have to go through a pretty painful process of migrating that the ownership to some other user. But now that's made quite simple. So in the Power Automate Studio, you will be having this three icon called More, and once you click on it, you will have a provision to change owner. And it's just like changing sharing to someone. You key in the username. Similarly, like that, we can change owner to someone by just entering the username, and it will just or typing the name, and it will suggest the users, and you can choose someone and change the owner. That has made a process, the whole owner change process, quite easier. And the other feature, the last feature from Power Automate that's worth mentioning is if you are when you try to debug Power Automate, right? When you're running it multiple times, you don't know which run is exactly something you want to look open and see, or you don't know the data. To see the data from the Power Automate, you have to open each one of them and then dig into the details to see the data. What Microsoft has done is in the Power Automate run, they have added a feature to add more columns, which was not there previously. So you can add more columns, like whatever the data you think will help you to debug, uh, or instead of opening and seeing them, you can just see the right away in the columns. So you can add more columns, and you can just see it, and that will make your debugging quite faster than it used to be. So that is another feature that really saves a lot of time in terms of Power Automate development. So with that, we are done with the Power Automate. And so far, we have seen Dynamics 365, some of the features from Dynamics 365, customer engagement, and some of the features from Power Automate. We're now heading into the next one on Power Apps. So this one is Dataverse. I don't say just Power Apps, but it's generically specific to Dataverse. So Power effects in Dataverse, right? I will also talk about another feature in in Power Apps, but let me start with this one. So if you have used calculated columns, you know what it does, right? Basically, you can, instead of writing any business rules, sorry, instead of writing any JavaScripts, The calculated columns have been used a lot in the history of Dynamics customer engagement or CRM or Dataverse. So Power FX, there's a new column called Power FX, and that really is going to be a bring lots of flexibility in terms of calculations, right? So previously you can do calculations quite simple, not complex, or you don't have flexibility to get it from multiple entities, related entities, but with Power FX command. So whatever you have been doing in Power FX command for, let's say, Canvas apps, all those lookups and all those patch and update, all those things, probably you can do it here in the Power Automate, sorry, in the Dataverse column. So in that way, you can imagine how powerful it is, right? So you can see this is one of the example of how the calculated columns or the column of the Power FX can be used to do this. And it's used in the business rules as well. And you can see the general public preview of that is for business rules available from this month, and for calculated columns, it's been available since July, and general availability is yet to be announced. So this is another, like a massive upgrade in terms of Dataverse fields. This provides lots of flexibility with Power FX, which is really powerful, right? And the next, and before getting into pages or portals, I want to talk about more things in Power Automate. Just a moment, sorry. Yeah. And one of the other features in Power Apps is from Canvas app perspective is the cards editor. So you can basically edit the cards, adaptive cards inside the Power App Studio. So previously we need a separate studio for the cards, adaptive cards, and a separate commands for that. And that was kind of, like separately, you have to learn certain separate things to do that. But now you can create the cards in the Canvas App Studio itself with the Power FX commands. So that then you can use the card, of course, anywhere in Teams or any web forms or whatever it is, and we can have all those logics being processed from the cards via from the Teams, right? I don't want to go into details of the adaptive cards or the cards usage. You can check, there are lots of great contents available. But yeah, the idea is you can create and manage the cards within the Power App Studio instead of a separate editor and separate language. I don't have slides for that, sadly. But also there is one more feature, or not feature of Power Apps. It's a toolkit, right? There is something called Creator Kit. If you have not tried, I strongly recommend to try that as well. That's not part of, again, so what are the features I'm talking now? That's not in the slides, are not part of Wave 2 release, but it's something recently released, right? This were announced in the recent Ignite. So if you have missed any of the Ignite updates, I'm trying to cover that as well, because those are like features that really adds lots of value to your business, and that's something I recommend to go and check it out. And this Creator Studio will has a studio, right? It's kind of a website where you can see the list of controls that you can use in your apps, Power Apps, basically. So if you want to, let's say you are looking for a grid, or let's say you're looking for a drop down. So instead of building from the scratch, you can just go to that studio, Creator Studio, and then you can basically pick the control that you want to build in your app, and you can change the style right there and test it, and you can get the code from there, and then you just add the code in your solution or in your application. Then with that you'll have the complete control, the full control, instead of you creating from the scratch or taking from any third party. This control that's available from this Creator Kit, or pretty much aligns with the user interface styles of what Microsoft default product offers. So you'll not feel the difference of creating the custom component, custom control. And it is also pretty much compatible with the all the devices, and it's also like, uh, yeah, extendable as well when you want to change the colors and the other styles like that. So it's basically built via PCF, but yeah, for us, instead of building it from the scratch, we can use them. If time permits, probably I will share and then show what I'm trying to say, but I will at least share the link of that uh, it in the chat, like if we run out of time. So that's something I want to talk about a Canvas app, apart from what I have in the slide, those two things, cards and the creator kit, right? And third one, actually, I want to talk is ALM accelerator. That is also that's part of the starter kit. So if we are, I don't have a slide for that because there are separate sessions being taken by I think one of my friends, Dharani, also in the Hindi Urdu bootcamp day before, sorry, yesterday. So you can check that as well. So ALM accelerator basically provides the feature to the makers to do the build the ALM pipelines and then use it to for the deployments from one environment to another environment without any code or building any pipeline. So previously you need someone who knows how to build CI/CD pipelines, and now makers without any coding knowledge or technical knowledge, the Microsoft has basically built a Canvas app called ALM Accelerator, and then keep behind the scene they do all the heavy lifting by from the maker perspective. They just basically select the solution and set up few things. It just works like that. So those kind of like that's another interesting and definitely a huge feature that I recommend to check, right? So that those three, I don't have a slides as I said, but you can please check on that because these three are not on the release wave 2, but I want to specifically call that out to make sure that you are not, you didn't miss any of those huge announcements that Microsoft had done. Okay, so let's get back into the track of the release wave 2. So now Power Pages. Power Pages, if you don't know what Power Pages is, Power Pages is built on top of Power Apps portals. I know Power Apps portals before it used to be called Dynamics 365 portals. Before that, it was ADX portal acquired by Microsoft, and then called Dynamics 365 portals. Then it was called Power Apps portals, and it was the whole authentication or the licensing was a bit different in the Power Apps portals. To be fair, it was a bit expensive. Now it's very cheaper when compared to what it used to be. So Power Pages is built on top of Power Apps portals with user-friendly, and it also offers user-friendly studio, like similar to Power App Studio. You can see how similar the Power App Studio is. This is quite similar to that. You will have instead of forms and tables, you'll have pages, you have stylings, all those things, and you can basically build your website with the Power Pages. So the makers can do, if you are from the ASP.NET or like Visual Basic background, you know what, you might find this quite relatable. And yeah, so basically maker can just build complex websites. Again, this is pretty much like supports different it's aspect ratio and different devices, so you don't need to worry about rebuilding it for every devices. And you have a simple interface to drag and drop and then build the controls, and also you can change the properties and then like build the interface, right? This is already available in general, available from last month, so you can try it out if you're not.
Just a quick one, Jiva, just a time check. You have 10 more minutes.
Yep.
Do you think
Thanks,
that would be enough for you?
Yep, all good. I'm almost there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And the site visibility. So, so with this Power Pages, what Microsoft has done is recently is they just made it public. Sorry, they just made it, you can make it as a private. All the new pages would be private. And if you are working on something or your team is working on something, you don't make it public until it's going to be released to public, right? So that's the whole idea about all these points here. So that these are all features of Power Pages, yeah. And next one is the code editing. So even though Makers has the flexibility to drag and drop and build complex forms, even the complex grids, and like still a pro code developers environment or traditional developer environment involvement will be needed in terms of extending the portals, right? Or the pages. So it's in practical, definitely I'm sure that you will need someone to do that when you start building the website. So what Microsoft has done is they have, when you in the studio, when you try to see the code and edit the code, and it's not easy to use it in the edit in the browser, right? So usually what we do is we use um, code editing component tools like VS Code. So previously, what we have to do that for that is we have to install certain commands, and then to set up few things before you start using Visual VS Code or Visual Studio for that matter to edit it, and then like publish it so that it reflects in the portals or pages. So what now Microsoft has done is when you try to extend it, it opens the whole backend code of that page Power Pages or that website opens in the new tab in a VS Code. So you don't need to install all those command tools, all those such, and then it opens right there. And when you edit something in the VS Code, the developers are like, and then they save and publish it, it reflects immediately back in the pages. So that's kind of an advancement they have done, and it is going to be available for public preview from this December. And I don't have a date for general availability, but it will be announced soon. Um, and there are a couple of more features that I want to talk about pages. I don't have slides, but I can tell you there are more templates available now as part of the new Wave 2 release. And when you try to create a new pages, you can use one of those things. And also the Power Apps portals, if you had previously portals, you can start using the new Power Pages Studio. It's supportable now. And then licensing, right? Licensing is a very important factor here. So previously licensing used to be on the login basis. So when I say login basis, I'm just trying to quickly give you a comparison of the cost, what it used to be and what it is now. So previously, 100 logins was $200. So I'm talking about authenticated users, right? So to the users who uses the website to log in and upload data, see the dashboards and all those kind of steps. Will be the authenticated users. Of course, you can have anonymous users also who just visit the website and to just see the information. So there has been changes done in both for both the users. For authenticated users, previously for each login, for 100 logins, it was $200. So what does the logins means? The login is an active 24-hour session. So if I am the user, I log in today, my session is active for 24 hours. If I log in today 12 o'clock and if I log in tomorrow 1 o'clock, that's considered as 2 sessions. So if a user, let's assume that one user uses 20 days, that's 20 sessions per month. And we have 5 users, that's 100 logins. So for 5 users, heavy users who uses almost every working day, you will have to buy 20 sessions for each. That's like 100 logins for each. That's $200, right? And you can imagine what happens when there are hundreds of users. And that's how expensive it was previously. Now, what Microsoft has done is they have changed the way they license the customer, and they move on to a user-based license instead of logins-based license. So if for one user, instead of how many times they log in per month, it's going to be just $2, starting with $2. If you have up to 10,000 users, if you have overall more than 10,000 users, it reduces further. It will be, I think, 75 cents if more than 10,000, and then I think it will go up to 50 cents. I don't have the exact numbers, but I can get it for you. And then meanwhile, when the next speaker presents. So now you can imagine, let's take the same scenario, 5 users, active users, who uses, let's say 20 days or 30 days, doesn't matter. All you're gonna pay is $2 per month minimum maximum. It can be up to even 50 cents also based on number of users. Let's assume the worst case $2. So that's still just $5, $10 for the 5 users per month instead of it was $200, right? In the previous scenario. So with this, so what we do is for 100 users, that's going to be, yes, it's going to be $200 instead of 100 login sessions. So the moving from logins to users-based license has drastically reduced the license cost of the Power Pages, and this will definitely help lots of customers to explore using Power Pages as one of as their public-facing portal option, and they can start using it. So if you're not using Power Pages, this is another one of the going to be very powerful, and it's going to be very commonly used portals for the customer portals. With customer engagement, it works well with FNO and it works well with SharePoint. So that's something there are lots of investments being made. And the authentication, it uses all the Azure B2C authentications. You can use other providers authentication as well. But yeah, it's there are lots of sessions around that. But yeah, this is the very high level introduction about Power Pages and the licensing changes that happened recently in release, and then the new features that comes as part of the new releases. With that, I'm done with the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. And the last slide is going to be on the customer voice, right? I have 6 minutes and I will take 2 minutes for this one. Customer voice, as you know, it's for the surveys. So there are some improvements that's been done, and which is available available from public preview from this September, and the general availability yet to be announced. So now if you have used customer voice, you can't upload file until this point, but now you're able to upload a file as part of the survey, and you can get the detailed email delivery status. So or the delivery report can be sent to an email of a survey, and then you can basically share and co-author a survey, right? So that's just the three features that's been released recently, and that's my last slide. And I'm gonna share this release plan. And I'm gonna share this general availability Microsoft update policy, when what time Microsoft updates it, all those stuffs, and all those links I'll be sharing in the chat. And I don't want to take more time from the for the next session. I have to keep some time for the Q&A as well. And yep, that's the overall quick walkthrough and on the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform.
Thank you, Jeeva. Any questions? We still have 5 minutes. I think if there's any question, please post it on the chat, and Jeeva, please respond while you are not in the session. Thank you very much for your time.
No
I'll
worries.
stop the recording.
Yep. Thank you so much again for the opportunity.